when I started teaching, I had like one set of preconceived notions about what I thought students would be struggling with. And then a lot of those notions were shattered. So I'm curious from your experience, like how has working with actual students changed what you understand their biggest challenges to be?
Well, man, when you're getting better over time, like you starting to increase your skill, you forget that some of these questions that my students ask me, I'll be like, I have to catch myself. Like, how do you not know this? You know what I mean? But I have to remember that they're still early. Now, my students range right now from 17 to 47. But it still sometimes catches me off guard when they'll ask me a question. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this seems so obvious to me, but I have to remember that I've been in the game. Well, not in the game, but you know what I mean? I'm 25, so I'm still relatively young. But, I've been doing this for a while to the point where I've gotten to a level where I feel I'm good enough to help somebody. So when they come to me and they're asking certain questions like, the slogan for my business, for my School of Chops, is teaching students how to gain skills and confidence behind the drums, right? Which derive from the people just continuously saying, I'm not confident. So I'm just playing these gigs, not knowing that, people are struggling with confidence behind the drums, sitting down and being able to say like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to execute it like this on the gig. So, I started finding ways to help people to do that, because at the end of the day, Nate, like, as drummers, we sitting on the throne. That's what they call it, right? So that means we're in a leadership position, right? So if we are in a leadership position, that means we driving the bus. And if we driving the bus, that means everybody is doing, what we're leading them to do. And if we are not leading confidently and effectively, then the whole entire ensemble sees effects from that. You know what I mean? So I try to tell people, like, whether you like it or not, the spirit of this instrument is leadership. It's just naturally, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you the MD or not, I don't care. The MD, when he gives you comments, right, he's telling you how he wants you to lead the band. So it's your job to do that confidently, because when is the last time you've heard of a great leader, a great king, a great ruler, or anything of that sort, anybody of a leadership position that's not doing it confidently, right? Because if you're not doing it confidently, then that means there must be some flaws. And so the goal is, any musical situation that the students is put in, they feel confident to get through it. You see what I'm saying? And they feel like they can do it. So that was one of the big things, man. Like, and of course, chops. And I know we're going to get deeper into talking about chops and stuff, but that's one of the big things that I noticed, man. And I also, through them asking me, Nate, now I'm looking at it like, wow, maybe I am pretty confident. Because at first I'm just like, I got to lead the team. Like, that's how I looked at it before I was teaching. Like, I got to effectively lead the band. But now, I see the scope that other people see me through. So it's been a learning and growth process to me too. And you never know what people see and what they want from you, or the things that they glean from you, until you get to hear these opinions of these people. And then you're like, oh, okay, people think I'm good at that. All right, cool. And then you start realizing, man, maybe I am pretty good at that. You know what I mean? If that answers the question.
Yeah, one for me was, I hadn't realized how much drummers struggle with the kick drum. Because it's been so long since I've worried about playing the kick drum. But they're like, if you put yourself in their shoes, there are all of these different approaches to it. And like, it seems like every chop or thing you want to execute or cool beat you want to do on the drum requires fast kick doubles. So that's why there's all these YouTube videos about fast kick doubles. There's the heel toe and the slide. And when people started asking me about that, I had to sort of go back into my own learning and like try to remember what I was doing. Is there a specific example like that for you, like something that technically you just kind of take for granted, but that your students found difficult, that you had to sort of relearn how to teach?
I don't really have a very specific one, but the kick one is probably the most universal and best one. So what I tell the kids is, I say kids, but my students, I tell them, some of them 47, he's not a kid at all. But anyway, I tell these people like, at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong way to do this. Are you in time? right? And does it make sense? So if you want to slide, if you want to do heel up, that don't matter. Just find out what works for you and just play it in time. I tell my students, if you're playing drums and you're not in time, you are useless at this point. That's not me being mean. It's just like you officially become useless if you're playing the drums out of time. So I don't care. Like, I like to tell them this, like, don't get too caught up in the techniques. Like, should I be doing molar? Like, bro, I don't know. Like, it's your body. What works for me, I can tell you what works for me, but you have to sit down behind the drums, put the sticks in your hand, put your feet on the pedals and do it and say, I like this. I don't like this. And now I'm perfected. But whatever you're doing, whatever is easiest for you to play in time and for you to execute music properly, that's what you go with. Cause like, we in the age now where you can see the drummers at the drop of a dime. Like at one point you had to buy a VHS. You probably know about that. You had to buy a VHS or DVD and pop it in it. And then now you get to watch these videos. But now I can pull up any video of any drummer from any time frame, from any decade, from any genre, and just look at them. So that's a blessing and a curse, because the curse now is you're second guessing yourself all the time about what you should be doing instead of, actually looking at it for inspiration and seeing what somebody does, try it. And if you like it, do it. If you don't. So I tell my students, like, it's so many different things you can get caught up in of like, oh, the slide technique, but then there's the heel up and then there's the double extra, whatever. Like, bro, just do them and see what you like. And then now you're going to cultivate your sound and you're going to cultivate like how you like to do things, which is, a big part of who you're going to be as a drummer. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I don't have a specific example, but whenever they do bring these things up, I'm like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, should I be wearing leather pants or should I just do like denim or should I do slacks? Like, I don't know, put them on and try, you know what I mean? And you tell me. So that's that's it's easy to get caught up because they have so many people they're watching and they're like, oh, what should I be doing? How do I do it? Just do it, man. Just do it.
Do you feel like there was a similar kind of trial and error and just gravitating toward what felt good when you were learning to play? Did you have more of a formal instruction? Nah,
well, I had one lesson on drum set when I was 6 from this local drummer, and I got a DVD of him, and I watched it like a year and a half ago. It's funny. That was my first formal drum lesson, and then I didn't have another drum lesson until I was in college again. So like 12, 13 years later, I actually had an actual real lesson in college. So first and foremost, man, shout out to you, man. 80-20. I be saying 80-20 drummer. But shout out to you, bro, because believe it or not, man, you actually contributed to my playing as well. During the time at Berklee, I wasn't really all of that, bro. Like I got to Berklee in 2019 and I had never been in a shed before ever in my life. And like I'm sitting down with some guys that really, really do this. I ran into some people that really did it. And, just being, not good pushed me to be like, yo, I got to figure this out. Like now I'm a very determined person. So I was like, I got to figure this out. And, the curriculum at Berklee is not necessarily teaching you how to chop and articulate and do that. It's not necessarily that. The things they teach you could help you with that, but it's not all around that. So I had to take time to figure that out myself. And I'm pretty sure anybody that hears this can agree. Once you get on the internet and you start looking up chops, you're going to come across the 80-20 drummer channel. Like you have no choice at this point. It's just like it's one of those things that you run into, and we get familiar with you, Nate, and we kind of, I'll tell you the first thing I start noticing I was watching your videos is the beat, the intro with the beat, the guitar and the kick and the bass. It's like, all right, okay, this is an 80-20 video. All right, cool. And it's a good thing, bro. So like, I mean, you probably already know this because you're a teacher and you've been doing this for a while, but bro, like, you play a big role. I mean, people stop through on your channel to check out these videos and they get some good stuff from you. You got a good approach and you do different stuff. You do tutorials as well as breakdowns and explanations of different genres and different ways that people go about the drums and controversial takes. So, to answer that question, I think I had a similar situation as well, but, coming across channels like yours and just studying different drummers that I like, I was more of a doer. I was more so just doing a lot more versus zooming out and saying, oh, look at all the options of what should I be doing? I was just trying it like, oh, okay, I'll do this. And it was a point where I was at Berklee practicing every single day, like for a minimum of 3 hours, every single day, to not miss a day. And I intentionally didn't gig purposefully. I didn't gig at Berklee until my senior year. That's when I started taking gigs and gigging around Boston. But up until then, I was specifically just studying and coming across channels like yours and applying what I can and you know, eating the meat and spitting out the bones, meaning the things that I felt that were necessary to me and the things that I felt were helping me, I used it. The things that weren't, I got rid of it and I kept going. So I think that's the main difference between, how old are you, Nate? Like how old are you?
I'm 45.
Okay, cool. So you really know about this then. Like I think the main difference between like where I'm starting to see a split between the people that are my age and the people behind me is like, I had options to see what they were doing, but I was more of like doing it, like just jumping on it and doing it, which with the people from your generation of drummers, you know, y'all were more listeners, like, cause you couldn't visually see as much. You were hearing more, you know what I mean? Like listening to the record or listening to these different things and like, you know, that's a different type of application from hearing and just seeing. Cause now it's a different way you gotta interpret something when you can only hear it. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
It's a big difference, but I just wanted to show you some love, man. Cause like, you know, whether you know it or not, I'm sure you do. You can't go far trying to learn something about chops without running into the 80-20, bro. It's just gonna happen to you.
Well, first of all, that's very kind. And second of all, it's interesting to me because I think about like the interchange and the sort of water cycle of information, just because obviously if you've watched me and anybody who's watched me knows I was super inspired by like the sort of early church sheds and some of the early Berklee sheds, Darian Javon, Matt Garska, like all that stuff. So I was practicing those chops. And then like if some of the younger generation was checking my videos out, I'm extremely flattered. But then they innovated and they got way better. And now I'm like checking you all out some more. And I think maybe another difference is like, I'm kind of like a 90-minute a day practicer. And I feel like I'm kind of like on the medium track. So I think obviously talent plays a big role and like being around people. But I think when I see people make these huge quick jumps in ability, I feel like a lot of times it comes down to exactly what you said. It's just like 3 hours a day, like a monk in the practice room.
Yeah. And that was a little bit, man. Like you interviewed one of my good buddies, Matt Bover, years ago. You remember Matt, he's from New York too. I mean, dude, he was doing like, I was a morning practicer. So wake up, work out, go to the gym, get on the train. First thing I do is I practice. And my first class wouldn't start till like 12:31. Right. So I'll get the practice rooms open up at 9 at Berklee. They open up. Yes, they open and close, by the way. How ridiculous is that? Right. They open up at 9 and then they close like at 11 p.m. But I was a morning practicer. So I would see Matt in the morning, you know, and it'll be good. I'll be like, I'm going to beat him there. Like sometimes I'll beat him there. Sometimes I won't. But we be getting there around the same time. It was this competitive thing. But this dude and his playing displays this. I mean, I would maybe come back just to mess around at 6 and he would have still been there like later in the day. Like Matt would come to practice, go to his first class and then go back to practice and then get lunch, go to another class and then go back to practice and then go to another class and go back to practice. Like he was on another level and his playing shows that. When you hear him, it shows that. So you just gotta, you know, in order to, like you said, to make those jumps that you want to make, like, bro, you gotta sit down behind the drum. So me doing 3 hours a day was like, for him, that was like just the beginning. He was putting in like these crazy hours, man, and it shows. And you know, nowadays I'm trying, you know, I'm running the school, I'm doing social media and stuff like that. I may not even get to practice that much, but it's all about efficient practice at this point in my life. Efficiently practicing, knowing what I need to work on, attacking it, sitting down, getting to work, and then doing what I got to do. Like versus just being able to sit down and just have a bunch of time to just practice a bunch of stuff. I got to be more strategic. You know, what do I need to be working on? Listening back to myself. That was trash. Why did I do that? Let's correct that and move on. You know what I mean?
I also think being in the environment with the sheds, with other people pushing you is huge too, because I'll be in the practice room and I'll be like, okay, I can play 16ths at like 190 and feel pretty comfortable shedding at that tempo. Like that seems fast enough. Let's work on something else. And then occasionally I'll go to do a shed and somebody will like be faster or louder than me. And I'll be like, well, fuck. And now I really need to work. Or I'll get on Instagram and I'll see somebody, like my friend Steve Lyman posted like, oh yeah, so I think the fastest I can flow in 16ths is 2:30. And I was just like, fuck. So then like the next day I was, I was in the practice room like, so I'll sort of strategically use anger that other people can do things that I can't to like fuel myself. But I imagine when you're in an environment like Berklee, you're just surrounded by that constantly. So it's just grind, everything with it.
And I used to talk to people about that. Like, I'll probably never experience this again. This many musicians in one place ever again, and my best sheds were not the ones where the room is full of people. Cause I know you probably seen some of those videos I posted where, it's a room full of people watching. Those aren't the best ones. The best time for you to sit down and actually learn and like grow and figure out what you're trying to do is whenever it's just 3 or 4 people in the room, and that was a big thing that I did a lot that wasn't shown a lot. Just me and maybe 2 other drummers, like, yo, let's sit down. And we in there for like literal hours throughout the night, sitting down and expressing ourselves. And of course I missed that. But now I would say post Berklee, I graduated in December last year. So it's been a year. Post Berklee now, it's benefits too to just playing a lot with that same relationship of just playing and executing live, like doing stuff with people, it's always different from sitting in the shed and working and then going out into the world. So like I said, I didn't play a lot of gigs on purpose when I was there, specifically to try to get myself getting, on another level. But now that I'm out here, I'm just playing a lot. And I think that is equally as important and equally as effective towards your playing. If not, because shedding is good. I mean, shedding is getting you to the place where you're just playing shit. Like you can just play stuff, which is really, really good. But performance is a different type. It makes you more aware of what you're playing. Shedding is more of a free thing, but performing is more of an awareness thing. Like, where should I be doing this? How should I be placing this? How should I be going about this? And you're getting better at that when you're just performing a lot. So that's what I'm doing as a full-time musician. I'm just doing like playing a lot. And I think that's really, really helpful too. Like that's opened me up to actually do more behind the drums than shedding. You know what I mean? Like being able to do it in musical situations and it make a lot more sense. Make it make a lot more sense, if that makes sense to what I'm saying.
Definitely. I was just going to say the biggest critique that shed drummers get is like, oh, this is like musically unrealistic, or like this is like not a way you play with other musicians. And it's like, well, no shit, you're not playing with other musicians. Like that's a very specific thing to like workshop techniques. But I take your point that if you've only ever come up through music school, it's important to take what you've learned into the world of gigging and see how it works in a musical situation and see what's different. What I'm curious about is you had 2 very distinct periods. So one in which you weren't gigging yet, which you were shedding a lot, and
right.
The next in which you start gigging a bunch, and you're emphasizing gigging more. If you had it to do over again, would you still keep them sequenced like that, or would you have started playing gigs earlier?
Yeah, man, it was necessary. I feel like once I came on the scene in Boston, it was like, wow, Zyck is killing it. Like I was getting called, man, and it's not cool to arrive prematurely to anything in life. It's not cool. It's not good. So if I had to do it again, bro, Nate, absolutely, I would do it again that exact same way. And I think a lot more people need to do that. Sit down and just, bro, relax. If you can accept the fact that the gigs will come, if you get to a certain level, then why not use the time to get to the certain level? I was living on campus for the semester I practiced the most. I was living on campus and I was not working, and that was like the biggest thing. So like, take advantage of the time, especially if you're young, when you have not a lot of responsibilities, when you're just in college. Like, what are you itching to go out there and gig for? Especially whenever it's somebody out there that's possibly doing the job better than you. So I wanted to be one of the people that was on the scene that they believe could do the job the best. And man, I played Boston Calling. I did which is a major music festival in Boston. Like, so by the time it came time for me to do this stuff, I was doing it. Like I was playing some of the nicer gigs around the city and gigging with some of the people that do it full time as well. and I was able to hang. But imagine if I arrived to that prematurely. You know, what would that say about my playing, and what would that say about the type of musician I am? So just being prepared is most important over anything, especially when it comes to who, you know, your image. So when people are seeing you out here as a gigging drummer, like, what do they see? You know, and that's a big part on whether you get called back or not. Because I always tell people this: being a full-time musician is never an availability issue of gigs. There's gigs forever. There are going to be endless gigs. There's going to be endless bars, endless clubs, endless wedding bands forever. People are always going to be getting married. People are going to always want to have a beer and dance, and people are going to always want to celebrate something with a live band. The availability of gigs is never the problem. It's a skill issue. If you are struggling to do music full time and get more gigs, it is a skill issue. Get your skill, and to be completely honest with you, your skill level don't even need to be all the way up here for you to do this. You just need to be good enough, right? Now, I don't settle for that because my personal, Nate, my personal standard for myself is higher than that. But if you're struggling to do music full time, get back in the shed, sit down behind the drums, and work it out, because it's not a gig availability issue. It's not. It's unfortunately, it's not. It's you. So if you can get your ability up to the point where you can do any and every most things that are thrown to you when you play in top 40s, you good. And if you can be professional with that, oh my God, you'll never stop working. If you can show up on time and sound good, oh my goodness, bro, you'll never stop working, ever. So yes, Nate, to answer the question, I'm sorry for these long-winded, I'm very passionate about drums. I'm sorry for the long-winded answers, but yes, I would most definitely do it again. And whoever's watching this, I recommend to you 100%, take some time. You don't have to just cold turkey like I did, but take some time to like work on your craft and actually get good to the point where when you play, people are looking like, who is that? Get to that point, and I promise you'll never be hungry ever again. You'll always be able to play because people will be seeking you. Now, I have a question, Nate. When's the last time you seen somebody being sought after as a drummer or any instrumentalist that is not good?
Hang on, let me think about that for a minute. Is this a trick question? Will this be on the exam? Answer, I think.
Sought after.
Rarely, if ever.
Thank you. It's not gonna happen if you just not good, bro. People say, and Nate, you've heard this. They'll say it's 20% playing, 80% professionalism, and hygiene, and they name all this stuff, bro. That's true to an extent, but the reason why they hire you in the first place is because of your ability. That's what they see about you first. They see your ability first. Then they work with you and find out if you're professional or not. So it depends on what side of the ball you on. If you want the gig, then it's 80% playing, 20% professionalism. If you want it in the beginning, just off what they see. Because this is one of those professions, Nate, where you don't really get to know who the person is. You don't really get to know what type of morals they have, the type of people they are, the things they believe in. Because when you play any instrument except singing, your mouth is what? Closed. I don't know anything about you if you're an instrumentalist. Because when I see you doing what you're doing, you're not speaking like people may watch this video when you put it up, Nate, and be like, I didn't know Zyck was like, this type of person. But people that know me, they know I'm an articulate guy and I'm opinionated, and you know what I mean? Because of the profession I'm in. It's not like I'm a politician where I'm talking all the time and you get to really listen like, oh, this guy's an idiot. No, I'm a drummer. So when people see you, the initial thing, even though they say it's 70% this and 30% that, the initial thing is your ability, what you can do. That's what they see first. And then on the latter half, then that other stuff matters. But initially, man, it's the ability. Is your ability there? Can you do the gig? Because if they look at you and say, this guy can't play the gig, then why would they call you?
Yeah. Accordingly, you said a little earlier, actually, I think the very first answer you gave, we're talking about the primary things your students ask you that you took for granted, and you're talking about confidence and how you can't be a leader if you don't have confidence. But I wonder if you also think that you shouldn't be too confident before you have the ability. Like if part of developing confidence is developing the aptitude behind the instrument.
Oh my goodness, man. That's a very good point you made. So like I said, I wish I could show y'all some videos of me when I was 19 years old playing drums, man. I was just nowhere near the ability I am now. But that was one thing that I had. I was very confident in what I was doing, even though it didn't sound good. And the funny thing about that is, So the confidence thing was never an issue for me. Even if I got up at a jam session, I would get up there and play those drums confidently. And the people in the room might have been like, oh, this is not really that killing. But I believed it was killing. And you know what else? Once I started to realize what I was playing wasn't killing, then my confidence shifted. My confidence shifted from me being killing on drums to shifting to, I know I'm confident that I will get there one day. So I think that's important. If you the type of drummer that's like I was, or any instrumentalist for that matter, if you are very, very confident in what you do, even though it's not good, shift that. Be real with yourself and say, I'm not there yet, but I am confident that I will get there, right? And if you have the confidence and you truly believe that you can get there, use that confidence and fuel it that if I work hard, I know I can do it. Because I remember, Nate, in high school, right? I remember thinking that like working hard was a scam. I remember thinking that because, everybody says it. If you work hard, you can do it. So I'm like 17 and I was in orchestra, right? And I had to learn my scales on marimba and I didn't know my scales. And I had to go for like all state percussion or whatever, or region band or whatever it is. And, you got to play the etudes and do the pieces. So I remember I'm thinking like, okay, I want to have a good shot at this thing. I want to try to be, in region band. That's a goal I had. So I can either just wing it and try to do it, or I can try what other people say and see if this is really true. If I really give it my all and see what will really happen. And I remember every day after school, I'm just practicing my scales. And then I see my teacher like a couple weeks later and he's like, Zyck, play your scales. Can you play this scale? And now he had asked me this like a couple weeks prior and I could not do it. And I was like, yeah, which one? He's like, E flat major. And I play the scale. And he's like, wow. Play another one, and I'm playing the scales. And so we get to the point now where I put the work in and I got a result. And ever since then, I've been addicted to that exact process. So I guess that gave me a confidence boost too. So it's almost kind of like and you remember when Amazon first came out and like, I was like 10 and I'm like trying to order. Well, not when it first came out, but when they start doing like more stuff than books and you could order online. I remember like I wanted this cell phone and I'm like, I want to purchase this cell phone, but if I give them my money, are they gonna like keep my money and I never get my phone? I thought this because it's new. It's like, especially as a 10-year-old, I'm like, okay, I got $50 and I can get this cell phone. But what if they keep it? I'm thinking like, okay, what if I put all my time in and I don't get better? Is this a scam? It is not a scam, right? It's actually true. If you put in the work, you will get the result. So my confidence lied in, it began with that where I was like, I know I'll be good because I know I'll put in the work. But it had to shift, man. Because I wasn't there yet. And I had to humble myself and realize I was not there yet. And shift it to, I'm confident in the fact that I will get there one day. If that makes sense.
It does. And as I messaged you when we first started messaging about you doing this interview, obviously part of my purpose for speaking to the people I speak to is just to find out, is there anything innate to them that would have predicted them reaching the ability level they have? And I think what you just said kind of encapsulated it for me. And from an outside perspective, what it looks like is we both know that drums and music and pretty much becoming great at anything is hard knocks. Like there's no smooth road. Nobody just first of all becomes good in a year or becomes good without any experiences that humble them, or becomes good without thinking they're good, and then an experience humbles them, and then they realize they have farther to go. So that resilience, that confidence that you described, where initially you were confident about your playing, but then you channeled it into confidence that if you just kept persisting, it would work out. I think, at least from where I sit, I can tell that that's been an ingredient in your success, because I assume you, like everybody, had to endure a bunch of humbling experiences, and your ability to sort of like take the punch and like stay in the pocket and keep working probably contributed.
Yeah, man. So, they call me Zyck the Freak, Nate. You probably know that, right? And Freak is actually an acronym, and you hit the nail on the head. And I created the acronym based off things that I believe I live by and try to continue doing. So it's FREAK, fearless, resilient, energetic, authentic, and knowledgeable, right? And you hit the nail on the head, right, with the word resilience. Like, bro, you need that in any facet, right? In anything you try to do in life. Like, because one thing I learned at Berklee, right, is some people they just understand the instrument really well. And when you have a really, really good understanding, you're going to take off. Like, and I didn't have that good of an understanding in the beginning, right? I'm still working on it now. But I noticed that, like, it comes easier to some people, Nate. It does. It does. Some people, it just comes easier because they have just a really great understanding of how this thing, any instrument is like a machine. It really is. And if you have a good understanding of how to operate this machine, you're going to things are going to naturally come to you, right? But if your understanding is not all the way there, then you're going to struggle a little bit more. And I was one of the people where I love drums. I had the passion part down. I loved it. I had the discipline part down, but my understanding, I had to take some time to shed my understanding, right? And really, the function of the instrument, how does this work? Why do you do this? How do you get better at this? Figuring those things out. And like you said, it did take a lot of, being resilient, man, and like taking it to the face and like you practice, the big gut punch, Nate, where you practice for like 2 weeks for that one jam session, is coming up. And then you get on and nothing came out that you was working on. And it's like, damn, man, like you almost want to ask yourself, what am I practicing this stuff for? Like, I just gave it my all for like 5 days straight just for this jam session so I could do my thing. And then like, I soloed and I just wasn't there. It's like, and I tell my students that's like 17, like, bro, technically I know you see the phenomenon 8-year-old playing chops, but that is not a reality. You're not supposed to be killing at this yet. You know what I mean? It's like, relax, it's okay. Like, it's easy to, and that's another thing with the social media thing. When we see so many people that's killing, right? It makes us feel like, well, am I where I need to be? Well, I don't know. Are you? You determine where you are. You determine where you go. You determine where you're going to be. So instead of looking at these other people as, man, this 7-year-old's playing chops better than me. Yeah, okay, but maybe this 7-year-old's uncle is like Dennis Chambers or something, and he had a resource that you didn't have. You see what I'm saying? You don't know the story. You just seeing the result. You don't know the story. So to kind of back away from that and just, be like, like I said, if you believe you can get there and you put in the work, you will get there. Don't worry about what's going down in other places. Just keep working, and it will be discouraging moments. It will be moments of letdown, but I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to build the 80/20 channel with 100K plus subscribers to get the silver plaque. I'm sure that was not easy. But people see it, and what do they say? I'm going to start a drum channel, and I'm going to do it. And they all lit, and they don't realize they didn't see half the things you had to do to get it there. It's like, hold your horses, bro. And we got some work to do. And if everybody could do it, Nate, then everybody will have an 80/20 drum channel. Everybody will be teaching students and just going to Spain whenever they feel like it. Yeah, I want me and my family. Everybody will be doing it. So there you go.
Okay. So I have a lot of questions about this, but quick sidebar. Like, I do think that's happening more and more. I mean, yeah, maybe we can talk about the social media thing a little bit because, like, okay, so my generation came up completely analog, right? And because maybe of a place I was in my life and my frustration with the way my music career and my day job had worked out, I was kind of an early adopter of the internet thing. I was just like, all right, well, fuck it. Like, nothing else is working out. Let's just hop on YouTube and see what happens. So people like me, probably Mike Johnston, obviously Jared from Drumeo, were sort of the early adopters. And people in our generation kind of didn't know what to do with the internet. They sort of scoffed at it. And so the people who built the biggest followings were, and I'll say this about myself, like, I wasn't necessarily the best drummer, obviously. I was just like the earliest guy to get on. But now we have a generation of people. Oh, I was going to say, so then you had a generation of people who were like really, really good players, but they still were sort of in like the old mentality. Like, it's all about just gigs. But now we have people coming up, like probably the kids going to Berklee now, who are fully invested that they need to murder out their Instagram and they need to be on YouTube in a huge way. And they're also like world-class players. And those dudes are coming for us, or they're coming for me at the very least. And I guess that's among the things that just motivates me to be on my game as a player. Because exactly as you say, like, I don't think I need to be Mike Mitchell or JD Beck or Thomas, but I think I need to be goddamn good. I need to be good enough that people aren't going to say like, well, why would I listen to this guy? Like, okay, he's a good teacher or whatever, but you have all these chop hounds now. Like, so yeah, just speaking about motivation, that was an aside. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, or I have another question after this, but.
Well, bro, I'll keep this one short. Like, I think, there's always going to be somebody that you suit them better, right? Even if it comes to me in my program, whoever's watching this video can see a very distinct difference in the way I'm going to teach them and the way you are going to teach them. My personality type is a little bit more out there. It's a little bit more brash, a little bit more upfront. Yours is a little bit more chill, bro. You the 80-20 drummer. It's just a little bit more chill. And like somebody may look at the both of us right now and say, I'm going with Nate, or I'm going with Zyck. Like, he's just more my type of the fire. You know what I'm saying? So it will always be a preference, and as far as them coming for you, like, I think since you have been in the real world for so much longer, it's so much that they have to learn that it's going to take them a while to really catch up to you as far as just maintaining it, because, building your channel and then them getting some followers on Instagram is just, especially with the lack of their college students and people. I know people get caught up with this. I'm not insulting people, but when you get to the school, I seen a video of Barack Obama saying this. Like, I remember I got to Harvard and we looking around and it's like, I'm thinking, oh my God, like these are the real deal people. And then you meet some idiots. And then he said, I get in the White House and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm in the White House, it's going to be amazing people. And then he meets some idiots. And he got to the United Nations and he's like, oh my goodness, I'm in the United Nations, it's going to be so many brilliant people. And he meets idiots. So it's like, people will attach these things and they will fake it up until the top. But when you run into them and you get to meet them, bro, Nate, if you met some of these people, you would probably be like, yo, what? Like, how? It's like, it's almost like in your generation, falling upon success was harder, I believe. And you can correct me. Today, like, prime example, the Hawk Tuah girl. Like, what are you famous for? What are you famous for?
Does she still have a podcast?
She got a successful podcast with like famous people on it. She has fallen upon success, not because she's necessarily good at anything or because she has knowledge on anything, because she said what she said. And this is not me judging her. This is just to prove, like, today you can just stumble upon success, which is great. But guess what? When it comes to maintaining that, you have no longevity or any type of, how are you going to maintain that? The video, people just watching it because you said that. But when they listen to your podcast, they'll end up being like, man, on to the next video if they really trying to seek. So you see what I'm saying? So it's just like, man, like, they might be doing some things that you're not doing, but you acquired a lot of skills and you're doing a lot of things that they're not doing. And the other part, my thing is like, I've met people that, whenever I get on a call and I'm talking to them about joining my school or becoming one of my students, I could tell some people not with it. I can be a lot, like, and some people I see, they love it. So it's like, I know I'm gonna have people that's for me and, it's gonna be people that's for you. And like I said, the gig availability issue and the ways to make money is never going to run out. It'll never run out. What's that other question? If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I should say for the record, like, I think the only posture to have is just one of abundance, to like welcome as many people and to feel like there's enough space for at least good faith people, and everybody will find their exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, that real recognized real Nate. It's like with Allen Iverson, like, back in the day they would say he's an asshole. You probably used to watch him play because that's like your era of basketball. But like when you see Allen Iverson now, he just showing love to everybody, bro. He just, what's going on, man? Love, like, the young him don't really come out like that. Like, and you get to really see what's up with AI. Like, what's going on, man? Like, he just always showing love. I like that when I see that. Like, and that's what it is, Nate. That's what's going to take us there, man. Having that, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. No, this is great. So it's funny how quick the time has gone. I was like, do I have enough questions? And it always ends up, the time just flies. But I do want to touch on one of the things that got my attention about you was something you wrote. I don't remember if you wrote or you spoke it on Instagram, but basically it was something about you felt like older players were giving younger players short shrift, and that.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah.
Yeah, preach. I'm interested. If you want to talk about it, I want to hear more.
Of course I want to talk about it, man. And let me preface this by like, I'm a very opinionated person, and I'm very like, strong-headed in what I believe and stuff. And I don't want people to look at this and think like, yo, this guy's an asshole, because I'm not. I see an issue, and I'm the one that's not afraid to say that there's an issue there. And let me tell you what, now that I've prefaced it, let's talk about what the issue is. The game of drums, Nate, has changed. You have been fortunate to live it and see it, right? I'm kind of on the back end of it. And what it takes to be a musician has also changed, right? Because today, being a musician and being a content creator have now emerged and become hand in hand, right? We know that. But I feel like even in the music industry, hear me out, being a drummer and playing chops has now came together, right? And it is a necessity for people that want to be seen, that are my age and that are trying to get on. If you want to play the gigs that you see these guys playing, Justin, Party Next Door, Khalid, LMA, you have to know how to chop. I'm sorry. The speech that they give you, and I'm talking older people, like, when I say older people, I'm not talking about Sticks, Sean, Clemens. I'm not talking about CJ, right? No, that's not who I'm talking about, because they're still relatively considered young. They born in the 90s like me. I mean, I'm born in 99. I just made it. But you see what I'm saying? I'm talking about, and I don't want to say no names. Yeah, they're younger than you. So I'm talking about the people that came up in when the gigs did not require that. Like, look at what Aaron was doing on One Night, One Star, like the early Usher tour. Like, bro, he was playing chops, and he wasn't doing that because like he wanted to. Like, he was doing it because obviously he was told to do it, because we all know if you do it without being told, you're gonna get fired. But he was clearly being told to do this. And look, and he laid the blueprint for what is happening today, as far as like the pop shit, like just the setups and the cool chops, stuff like that. Like, what you hear Aaron doing is a direct blueprint of like what's going up from like Sticks, and like it's just going up to CJ, Clemens, like what they doing on the tour, the pop tour. But these arrangements and this music that I'm gonna have to play, because you don't see no 55-year-olds playing for Justin Bieber. You don't see a 50, right? You don't see it. There's a reason why. Now I have a friend, he loved to make the point, but is you gonna see Sticks in them on the award shows though? I mean, like, the award shows those are good gigs, but they're not calling for you to do what they are doing. So each gig is gonna call for you to do something, right? And if you are my age, now this is the thing I was saying in the video, right? Check this out, Nate. The older guys will say, y'all need to stop chopping. All y'all younger guys want to do is chop, and that ain't what it's all about. Unfortunately, the era that I'm growing up in, that's what it's about. You have to know how to do that. You have to know how to play music. You have to know how to play parts. You have to know how to play in time. But if you want to do the high level gig, like you see the guys that you're watching doing, bro, I'm sorry, you have to know how to chop. And telling these younger guys that and trying to discourage them and hate on them and say, just because a lot of the reason is because they cannot do it, but we're not gonna get into that today. You want me to get into that, Nate? I don't want to get into that. I don't want to be an asshole. But you see what I'm saying? A lot of it is coming from a place of, they can't do it. And I look at it this way: whenever I'm 50, 30, 25 years from now, when I'm 50 years old, I just can't see myself hating on a younger drummer for doing what the game now is requiring him to do. I just can't. I just can't, man. Like, it's like, we in the Model T, right? My generation of drummers right now is in the Model T, and they on the horse. Like, my horse will never run out of gas. Like, what? Bro, like, get with the times. I'm doing what the times require me to do. If the gigs were the same they was, in 1990, if it was the same, then yes, what you were saying has some validity to it. But like, I also would like to challenge the OG. If you're considering yourself an OG drummer or an OG musician and you're commanding some sort of respect, right? My thing to you is to ask yourself and question yourself, like, where is this coming from? The fact that you hate chops so much, or that you complain about chops. And if you are such an OG and you got so much advice to give, Give us some advice that has nothing to do with playing chops, because we've heard it all. Nate, you've heard it all. We've heard it all. Too much chops. You're playing too much chops. You don't need to be playing chops. You're overplaying. Dude, did you see that thing on Stanley Randolph's page? Somebody had the audacity to come up to Stanley and say, I feel like you're overplaying the Stevie Wonder gig. What? This is bogus. He might have took it down. But me and my friend was just talking about this. That's ridiculous. This is Stanley we talking about. He respects the music. But it's just the fact that he put some flavor in there that a lot of these people cannot put, that they want to say he's overplaying the gig. That's nonsense. So, bro, it's just gotten to a thing now where it's just annoying, because I'll be posting videos on YouTube Shorts, and like, bro, I post a good balance of both because I understand the importance. I got videos where I don't chop at all, and I got videos where I'm playing drum solos, right? And it's like, let me tell y'all something. The younger guys that's trying to get on Instagram, that's trying to play and do that, they will never be happy. Just do what makes you happy. You can't please them all. I can post only chop videos and they'll say he can't chop. I can post only groove videos and they'll say he can't groove. And then people will say he gonna get all the work because he don't play chops. That's not true. If you can't play what the gigs are requiring you to play, the way the arrangements are set up, go watch this. Go listen to a live show. Type in whatever artist you want, especially pop, R&B, that type of stuff. The drummers that you like, listen to it. Type it in, listen to it. Listen to what they're doing, and you tell me if they're not playing any chops at all. They may not be just doing solos. Go ahead, Nate. My fault. Go ahead.
No, I was just watching the finale to Rhythm and Flow. But the second to last round, all the artists perform with, or all the contestants perform with R&B artists, like established R&B artists, and they have a backup band. And of course, like the backup band is like in the shadows. They don't show their faces. But clear as day, like to kick off certain sections of the arrangement, you hear chopping. Right? Like that's just part of the arrangement. And I think sometimes people don't even notice it, but it's just like, yep. And also just like the harmonies and the arrangement. I'm just like, oh, yep, these people have been to Berklee. Like that's this vibe.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and it's funny because it feels like we've been talking for 15 minutes, but I have to let you go in just a minute, but I would love to do a part 2 at some point. But before I let you go, always the question I like to end with is, what are you working on now that you're most fired up about, / where would you send people to check out what you've got going on?
So I'm getting ready to start working on some ebooks. And the reason why I'm doing this is because one thing I noticed, like the people that aren't able to take my course and stuff, I want them to have an option. I want them to have something that they could use or that they could do. And one thing I noticed that has been a big thing, Nate, is people being like, I'm not able to play. I want to do more gigs. I want more gigs. And they don't know what direction to go in. And aside from the skill thing that we talked about earlier, it being a skill issue and not a gig availability issue, I was blessed to move to Boston and do music full time there. And then I did it in my home city too, out of high school, doing music full time. I was able to do that in more than one city, and I'm confident that I can move to pretty much any city, especially a city that has somewhat of a music scene, and be able to do it full time. And I think I'm going to start writing some ebooks about that. And I'm doing some ebooks about, building drum solos, not just playing fast and loud, but communicating with the audience, taking them on a journey. So these type of things is what you're going to start seeing. I'm going to do, put this stuff up, and people will have access to it. But just a couple ebooks, nothing too expensive, just something you could just check it out, and it'll really help your playing, and it'll really open you up. And I'm really excited about that because, man, I'm at this point now, Nate, and I'm not going to be long-winded, but I'm at this point now where, like, I really want to help people, man, because I remember what it was like banging my head against the practice room wall. Like, I can't figure this out. And if I can help anybody expedite that and get them to where they want to be, then by all means, I want to do that. And I also want to do that. You're the catalyst to me starting to show more of my personality as a drummer, because I don't get to do this type of stuff often. People just see me as a player, and I don't get to give them my personality, the type of person I am, a lot. And, to make one small point before I wrap this up, I know a lot of people, you look at your favorite drummer and you idolize them. Right. And you're like, wow, this guy, is so awesome. But I'm here to tell you, don't be disappointed, because some of these guys, you will meet them and they will be assholes, and they will be dicks. So and they're really good at what they do, but, they're missing some components. Right. So, that's one thing I want to give to some people too as well. Like, these guys are incredible at what they do, but remember, they're still human, right? And you're not going to get along with everybody. And everybody's going to be different from what you think they are when you initially meet them. And I want to be one of those musicians where you kind of know me even off of the drums, right? And I told y'all what Freak stands for and what it means. And I strive to be those things. And when you meet me, I want you to say, I see that. Or, not only is Zyck a good drummer, but he's a damn good dude too. And I think that's important. And that's that we can talk about that next time, Nate. That's overlooked a lot too. It doesn't make any sense to be a killing drummer and then your kids don't see you. It doesn't make any sense to be a killing drummer and your wife thinks you're an asshole. It doesn't make any sense to be a killing drummer and you can't hold a basic conversation. And the OGs don't tell us about that though, Nate. They want to tell us how we shouldn't be chopping, but they don't tell us how to maintain a marriage and gig and be on tour, or how to be on tour and make sure your kids feel like you're present in their lives. They want to complain about how we playing chops. The important things is not what they're talking about. So it's just, this is the type of, and I'm not going to keep going because you got to get out of here, but I wanted to leave y'all with that. But those are some things I'm working on. You guys will get to see more of my personality and more of the type of guy I am, because I feel like I owe that to y'all. And as musicians, I encourage other people to not just be a face behind the instrument, but a voice in whatever you are, and let people know who you are.
Well, what a great note to end on. This has been, I have to say, among the most fun interviews I've ever done. So really, really appreciate you making the time.
I appreciate that, man. And you've interviewed some really killing people. And I was watching the Andy Prado one earlier, man. Andy is a beast. I really like him, but I was able to see that he's a genuine dude. I don't know if you got that when you talked to him. I never met him. I messaged him on Instagram before, but how much can you know about somebody through messages on Instagram? So, this is good. Keep doing this, man, because you're giving people the opportunity to do what I just said. Let people see who they really are, whether it be good or bad.
Thank you. And you too. I totally agree. I think people would love a channel showing more of your personality.
Yeah, I'm a freak out. That's what it's going to be called, freak out. We're going to do a freak out. So, and try to do that without seeming like an aggressive, crazy man. Because I am a loving dude, bro. I'm just passionate, bro. And we should be passionate about things. That's not a bad thing. You should be passionate. Nady 20, y'all. Show some love to Nady 20. You know what I'm saying? He a beast. He been doing this for a while, and he's impacted some of your favorite drummers probably. If I'm your favorite drummer, which, I may not be, because a lot of people don't know exactly who I am just yet. But if you like what I do, if you go to my page and like what I do, man, I had to give some of that to Nate, because I was in the practice room just watching some of the stuff, and he definitely inspired me and pushed me in some directions that I needed to go, just like many other people. So show Nate some love, man. He a good dude.
Too kind. Well, let's keep in touch, and thanks again, but have a great rest of your day.
You too, bro. God bless, man.
Take care.